Welcome back to the Let's Play, guys. Even though it's technically a podcast.
Let's Play discussion.
The Let's Play discussion, even though we're not going to be discussing anything about Metro or Smash or whatever. Today is something a little different. We're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be discussing the state of the game industry. So not just the state of the game industry, but a little bit of everything, EA and the big corporations and what have you. So I guess we'll go around the circle and do introductions or whatever.
No, we don't. Everyone kind of knows everyone by now. Yeah.
Jordan's here.
Yo, what's up?
I'll put the nameplate things on all of us, so we'll be good.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
First topic at hand, what originally was the thing that we wanted to start off with?
Okay, what was it?
So basically we're going to go over the gaming community as a whole right now.
In the state, yeah.
What I think we should start off with is how games are being rushed right now. And just how, there's no time put into them. So if you guys want to open up?
What do you think causes that, though? Obviously, you're talking about AAA games, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Things like Destiny and Anthem and...
Most recently, Destiny and Anthem. Essentially discussing about how, even though they may seem like AAA games and they might have, a lot of high-quality assets to them, in reality, because they're so, quickly shat out that you end up with products that are less than stellar. Yeah. We've seen it with Fallout 76, but originally we thought Bethesda could do no wrong, but now they're kind of getting, shit on because they made one, rushed out product. And again with EA, Mass Effect Andromeda, it happened 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know if you guys knew about that.
That was...
Oh yeah, with the facial
animations and stuff.
I will say though, Andromeda was a lot better than Anthem.
Yeah, it looks like it was.
So, also though, it's not... It is games being rushed, but also the games as a service format. What I found out recently is that a lot of games, a lot of developers, what they'll do is they take, because they want to use games as a service and be able to monetize them going forward, they'll make a complete game, and then people will come in,
take things out,
and rip things out of the game, and then sell them as DLC later. So it's not necessarily that games are being rushed particularly. It's also that, that is a problem. That is something that goes into it. But with a lot of AAA games, they do finish the games and they make complete games, but then they just take stuff out and then monetize it with DLC that you have to pay for.
Well, that's just wrong.
Yeah.
That's the way that's just in everything.
That's what happened to Destiny. That's why Destiny, a lot of the storylines are really confusing because there's stuff that was pulled out and then put back in as DLC.
That's exactly what happened. I remember the story for Destiny 1's, originally Joseph Staten and Jason Jones and Marty O'Donnell, the dude that did all the music and the story and stuff. They were all very they were essentially big parts of the reason why that game was coming up off the ground. And Joseph Staten had written a completely different story for Destiny. But then when they ran it past Activision, and again, it's not even just the developers, it's the publishers. Not really the developers that make the decision to cut their game apart. Mm-hmm. It's definitely the publishers that see that they can make more money in the long run off of a small minority of gamers. But anyway, they saw the fucking stuff with Destiny, and they're like, this story is too avant-garde. Let's just do something more basic. So they ended up cutting up all the shit from Destiny and taking it out and putting it into DLCs and reselling it for the Taken King and those other shit.
Well, for Destiny entirely, their whole story was changed completely because the whole traveler aspect, which is supposed to be the god everybody worships, was supposed to be the bad guy in the original script.
You would find out at the end that the traveler was actually the bad guy.
Yeah, and then the character who Prince Aldrin. He wasn't even supposed to be a prince. He was supposed to be a leader of some ragtag team of guardians.
He was supposed to be a friend of yours or something like that. That's such a shame.
So.
That's what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to the gaming industry as a whole, you definitely see a lot of that. Publishers tend to see the opportunity in a game, and then they come in and they try to change it up so they can, as you say, monetize it.
It's like studios getting too involved in movies.
Oh, totally.
It's the same thing. It's just it's because games.
Justice League.
Games are in release the Snyder Cut. Games are right. No, that's Batman versus Superman, isn't it?
No, that's the Snyder Cut for Justice League.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and there's rumors that it might come out.
Yeah, I heard about that. Anyway, that's different though. But games are an art form, just
of course,
just like movies, just
films,
like photography,
cartoons,
just
shows,
anything else. It's an art form, and games really are. Video games are one of the best tools for storytelling because...
I was just going to say real quick, they're also it's a growing market
Mm-hmm.
And so like that's why like publishers tend to see the potential in that market and they want a piece of that pie.
Yeah. Well, like just Battle Royale specifically, like that was not a thing a couple years ago, and then Fortnite blew up, and now everybody is trying to do Battle Royale.
Well, first it was
H1Z1.
It was H1Z1.
Well,
PUBG.
But
Minecraft.
Fortnite is
right.
Honestly,
it wasn't really Battle Royale. It was Hunger Games,
Oh,
which should have been copyrighted, but.
Yeah.
Regardless.
When I say Fortnite, I mean Fortnite is the one.
Battle Royale.
Yeah, Fortnite's
huge. The one that blew it up, and then everyone else was like, "Oh, we got to jump on this because Fortnite's making hella money off this."
Don't get me wrong.
Or Epic Games is making hella money off this.
Don't get me wrong. We definitely need a form of like hardcore industry in the franchise because then it allows like them to improve their graphics and it allows them to improve their. It does bring like a state of competition to like the whole. The market, the industry of video games, but it gets to a point to where so even though we need industry to like advance the format, we all are the not the format, but the medium.
We need the industry's money.
No, we need exactly is what I'm saying. We need the industry's money, not their actual input.
Right.
Because once they see the success of something, they essentially force the whole industry to stagnate. We saw this in the gaming crash in the '80s when they pushed out like the constant same shit over and over and over again. And it's essentially something that's happening today. It's not a gaming crash, and we won't get a gaming crash like it was in the 80s. Mm-hmm. But we are seeing a sort of market correction where people are starting to like vote with their wallets, Yeah. And so games like Anthem are failing not because it sucks. Well, it does suck.
Well, yeah.
But also people are just sick of EA.
Exactly. People are sick of that.
After Battlefront 2 came out, EA was just... like it's been all bad.
And you could see it going down from a long time before that too.
Because I even like Battlefield 5. Like I was actually really excited for Battlefield 5 because like World War II is my favorite era for first-person shooters or for shooters in general. And so I was really excited for Battlefield 5, and it came out, and I really enjoyed it for like maybe like a week or two, and then there just wasn't anything in it. There wasn't enough content.
It seemed like you were just playing the same map over and over.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's only one map that I generally like on that.
Panzerstorm.
Panzerstorm, and you have to play the shittiest map in the game in order to play on Panzerstorm.
Yeah. You literally go from Rotterdam, a Call of Duty map, to Panzerstorm, like an actual Battlefield map.
Well, Battlefield 5, like, it was very similar to Star Wars Battlefront 2, because, like, they wanted to, like, release everything later on, which has been EA's downfall from the beginning. Yeah. That's what Battlefront 2, they're finally releasing Clone Wars stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, now.
Even though we've been asking for it for
a year.
Exactly.
And, like, they originally were, like, promising, we're going to get Clone Wars, we're going to bring all the eras, but then it was just the original trilogy with, like, maybe one or two characters from the Clone Wars and the new era. So it was just a failure.
One of the big things, too, is games as a service done correctly, I don't think is a problem.
Games like Fortnite originally had a good thing going with
What's a good example of what you're talking about?
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
Explain it.
Okay, so when I say that, a lot of people are going to assume as long as it's free to play and then they monetize it later, that's a good, and that is good depending on what. I mean, if you release a free to play game that's just like an open world with nothing to do in it, and then you monetize it later and be like, you have to spend $10 to be able to participate in this mission or whatever, then that's dumb. That's just as bad as releasing a $60 game and then making you pay for extra stuff. But what I mean is like the worst version of games as a service is what we're talking about with like Destiny and
Activision
and where,
even Overwatch to some extent. Sure, it's not pay to win, but Jesus Christ!
Pay to win. That's a whole different thing.
Of course.
Which is another huge issue.
Sorry, I'm sick, by the way.
But what I mean is games as a service in the sense of releasing a full game. Like Spider-Man is a good example of this. Releasing a full game and then releasing add-on DLC.
Yeah, how it used to be back in the... Bless you, Mark. How it used to be in the earlier days of video game history.
Exactly.
When you paid for a game and you got the full package, when you buy a board game, you expect to get the whole experience in a board game. You know what I'm saying? That's the same thing with games. If I want a game where I'm gonna have to like get new shit down the line to make the game a full package, then I would expect the game to be $30, not $60.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Like another good example is like Rocket League. Like Rocket League, it was $20, and then now they're adding all this other stuff to it that is genuinely extra stuff.
It was free.
It was free
on PlayStation.
Its popularity grew, so they're like, let's charge people some money for this.
Yeah, exactly. And then it blew up. Now we have the RCLS and everything.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, it's I'm not saying that games as a service is necessarily bad as long as it's done correctly.
It's bad when it's fucking greedy. That's
exactly. When it's these money grubbing fucking people who don't even play video games that are just getting involved to make for the purpose. That's the whole issue. If people are getting involved at these studios for the purpose of making money, that's where the issue comes in, because you can't do anything good if the main purpose of why you're doing it is to make money.
Of course,
because you have
There's
to
no passion behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no advancement behind it.
Like, look at what's the guy, the Resident Evil guy? I forget his name.
Shinji Mikami.
I'm not sure. The one that's doing Death Stranding.
Oh, that's not Resident Evil. That's Silent Hills.
Oh, Silent Hill.
You just
Whatever.
you offended me on so many levels.
But what's his name?
Hideo Kojima.
Yeah. So Kojima.
Jordan got it.
He's a guy that has like true like there's a reason that every single game that he makes is a fucking banger. Like and there's a reason that Death Stranding is gonna be fucking like there's a reason there's a whole fan base that literally is just leaving the company that he worked for to go follow him and play Death Stranding.
Even if there's no hope, even if it ends up being that the game ends up sucking, which it probably isn't going to suck, but we could talk about that. We could dissect the whole Death Stranding thing for forever. The thing is, the point is people want to work when they know they're going to be in an environment where everybody's passionate about the project, and that usually keeps the project alive. The reason why Halo 1 and 2 were so successful a long time ago, and people tend to forget this, but Halo 1 and 2, and even 3, they were some of the greatest games ever made, and they were extremely good for the medium of video game franchise.
I think one of the cameras just turned off.
It did. There's that one. Yeah, we'll restart in a second. Finish your thought.
Before, people would line up for... Before people would, we see this, the fucking trend of people lining up for stores the night before the game comes out. Yeah. People would do that first for Halo 1 and Halo 2 and Halo 3. And they would line up for, literally miles just to get the first copy of Halo on its release. And those games literally took... People, when they worked on those games, Bungie, when they were still passionate about, and it was still the people that we know and love from Bungie originally, even though they knew they were going over budget, right, for themselves personally, they would literally try to work overtime unpaid to get the project done. Not because they needed to, because they were being forced to, but because they wanted the game to be the best it could be.
That's the same thing with fucking Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption 2, all the developers on that game were working over. They were working 90 hours a week or something like that
because they wanted to finish.
Because and everyone I remember when the headlights were not the headlights, the headlines were coming out that the developers and the people working on the game were putting in however many hours a week. I forget what the number is. It was 900
or 90.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
I thought it was an insane number. 900 combined or something.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
It was a lot. It was a lot. But I remember reading comments on. Oh yeah, look it up. Yeah. But I remember reading comments on Instagram of the headlines where people were like, "Wow, that's fucked up that Rockstar is making them work that much." But it wasn't Rockstar making them work that much. They were staying long because they wanted to perfect the game. And Red Dead Redemption 2 was amazing. The multiplayer is a completely different discussion.
Yes.
But Red Dead Redemption 2 as the base game with the full story, which is a complete game on its own. Yeah, it was amazing. It was one of there's a reason it's the number 3 best game of 2018.
I remember, kids, real quick. What were we just talking about a few minutes ago? Games as a service. That's literally the fucking multiplayer of Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, and
but
the
they're
multiplayer
releasing something.
And the thing is, it's not worth anything really. It's just a few things too little, too soon.
We can talk about that too with Rockstar starting the games as a service with GTA 5. That's when the money grubbing little shits that ruin video games looked at that and they were like, holy shit, Rockstar's making billions of dollars off of Grand Theft Auto 5 by monetizing the shit out of it. Let's, instead of releasing a complete game and a complete multiplayer, let's just hop in and give them the patty and make them pay for the lettuce, the tomato, the bun, the pickles.
Yeah, literally everything else.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking. And the thing is, this would be completely unacceptable in any other market.
Form. I mean, you're totally right.
Yeah, in restaurants it would be completely unacceptable. In movies it would be completely.
Imagine watching a movie.
Yeah, imagine you had to watch it in parts. Imagine you had to pay for Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3 separately.
Well, they do try to do that. Deathly Hallows 1 and 2.
But it's still a 2-hour movie though.
Yeah.
It's like watching 25 minutes and then having to pay for the next 25 minutes and the next 25 minutes. Let's go real quick to our local. Our resident fucking Elder Scrolls master right here.
Oh no!
And what's your opinion on Fallout 76 and how Skyrim went from being a full...
as soon as you guys talk, okay, so I am nowhere near as familiar with games as all of the rest of the people here, but
we're all fucking nerds.
but I know I have a different perspective, I guess. But as soon as you started talking about Fallout 76, I thought of Elder Scrolls Online, and
disappointing.
I got really into it over the last summer,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually I just came to this realization that this is nothing. Nothing is happening in this game.
Yeah,
like,
it's nowhere near as good as Skyrim.
right.
Or,
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and of course,
game,
when
but-
it was coming out, like everybody was like, "Don't compare it to
Yeah.
Skyrim because it's not like that. It's a different
It's like
experience."
World of Warcraft.
But I was not
Elder Scrolls.
expecting it to be like, I could have played that for free. Like, what's
Mhm.
it called? One of those online like Star Wars. What's the one?
Star Wars: The
Star
Old
Wars: The Old
Republic,
Republic.
Yeah, Old Republic. I could just play that,
which
for
is a great
free
experience,
and
by
got
the way, for the story.
Yeah.
Well, you can play it for free, right?
Exactly.
And WoW, you can play for free to
It's
a certain
rough
level.
if you play
But
it for free.
like, it's just like, there's a lot of grinding, and you're kind of like, you feel like
That's
you're
another
working
thing.
to somewhere, but
You're really not.
getting nowhere, and it's a lot of game as a service type of thing, like.
Yeah,
I don't know.
constantly. Yeah, I know what you're
It's the
saying.
same thing, and that was a shitty game, really.
That's
It's just like 76. Like, it's like they really failed, and like Skyrim, amazing game. I don't know.
That's another thing. How do you guys feel about this idea of the grind?
Okay,
It depends on the game.
Boy,
It really does depend on the
Okay,
game.
what's a good game?
All right. So I know you guys don't know about this, but like Path of Exile, that's a really good example of how grindy something can actually get. It's exactly like Diablo.
It's a free-to-play
like
game.
Diablo
But-
3. It's a
but is
free to play game.
Is
it a
worth
full-
the
it's free to
grinding?
play.
It is worth the grinding.
Okay, because you see what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I know what you're getting at.
Okay,
Like,
how do you
you're
feel-
paying for a game and
Yeah.
they're like messing with the loot tables, right? And like a certain item could drop way less.
Like
and
what
you would
Destiny
have to grind
does.
so much for like one
Oh,
item.
Anthem.
Yeah,
Fuck
but
their game.
okay. So what I'm getting at is that it's just like in World of Warcraft. I used to play a little bit of that. It's like in Elder Scrolls Online, you're playing for hours and hours, and you're not actually having fun. You're just like, this is gonna
It becomes
get me
a-
somewhere, but then you're like,
I mean-
it only gets me to
What you're
more
trying to say
grinding.
is it becomes monotonous.
Yeah,
It becomes
and
the
it's
same thing.
It's
It depends on
It
the person
starts
though.
as
Like
that.
if a person has fun grinding, I mean,
That's true.
That's their own opinion.
That's
but
true.
I can see where you're coming
but
from.
it's like it's like, how can you have fun grinding, because it's like, and they don't even challenge you with like enemies and stuff. It's just like,
Well, it depends on the game, because like there are
It-
some
it
games
does
where they
depend.
really challenge you to work for something, and then
Yeah.
people will like feel so accomplished once they do that. That's why they keep
That's
playing over and over again. It's like,
That's
oh, yeah,
a good example of
shit.
Destiny. Here, I want to stay right real quick what exactly the idea of grinding is. Okay, the idea of grinding is...
well, I think there's a good grind and a bad grind.
Of course, that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Just let me get to it real quick. The good grind example... grinding in general stems from our formula for combat isn't strong, so we need to make some form of reward system. That's why when you play a game with a lot of grinding, it needs to have like some basis. When you play... I don't know if you guys know this thing, but it's kind of like a philosophy thing that like Bungie... It's like a gaming philosophy thing that Bungie themselves kind of illustrated called the 30 Seconds of Fun. And the 30 Seconds of Fun is essentially utilizing your gameplay, like actual gameplay, and trying to mix it up every single time you do those 30 seconds of fun. The grinding doesn't do that. The grinding is just straight up, when it comes to grinding, it's just straight up gameplay, and that's why they try to make bosses like, super tanky, or enemies very tanky and very, monotonous to fight, because the fun itself doesn't necessarily come from the gameplay, it comes from the feeling of satisfaction you get after you get what you've been fighting for, right? That is what they do to essentially elongate the experience when they can't really do things like the 30 seconds of fun and make a bunch of various different scenarios too. You get what I'm trying to say at this point?
Yeah.
The way Halo did it back then is it's 30 seconds of fun for the same gameplay, but they always do it to they always convey it to you in a unique and different way every single time, so that it feels fresh, even though it may not be. The difference is for games like Destiny and games like Path of Exile and games like most MMORPGs is that because there's not much you can do with a simple shooter. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it's shared world, whatever. You get what I'm essentially trying to say. That's essentially the trade-off. The grinding is to kind of create this feeling of, even though the gameplay itself might not be amazing, or it might not be something that's like super fresh every time, it still tries to get that sense of satisfaction out of you afterwards. So like that's the appeal for grind games. That's why people can like it. I don't like it because it's never been something that satisfies me.
Well, I think this also goes into like dumbing down games. Like it's just like.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
What
in some
Destiny
ways.
2 accomplished very well, which is why some people like that game so much, because it's dumbed down. Is like it's just really easy to play. Like the AI in that game is just
It's a little retarded.
so bad. You can stand there for like 30 minutes and they won't kill you.
I feel like grinding is just an excuse to have a lack of content.
That's
definitely
what I'm saying. They try to
definitely.
elongate the game for as long as possible.
for most MMOs, but I guess there's exceptions.
Yeah, I think a good grind is something that where in order to like say you want to unlock a new gun or something, right? And in order to unlock that, you have to actually progress in the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good grind.
Yeah.
Where you're doing new things, you're doing new missions, you're having new objectives. Bad grinds are grinds.
You're going to the same zones and
yeah,
killing the same enemies.
like
over and over again.
exactly like
how Destiny 1 was when
yeah,
it first came out.
where you literally just do the same thing over and over again in order.
Path of Exile isn't like that because they have like thousands of fucking missions in Path of Exile.
Yeah.
That's how they try to like. One big thing that MMOs have over shooters like Destiny is that the way they convey you, okay, go kill 50 of these types of enemies in Destiny, right? It's always the same zone, it's always the same thing, etc., etc. But the way they do it in RPGs and MMOs, like especially free-to-play ones, the way they handle it is more of like a lore satisfaction thing. They always give it to you in a mission to make you feel like it's always something, even though it's the same gameplay. They always try to like give it to you and convey it to you in a way that seems like you're doing it for a different cause. You get what I'm trying to say? It's like in The Witcher. You're a monster hunter. You're hunting a different type of monster, but you're still hunting the monster. You know what I'm trying to? I don't know if that makes sense. But
all I really think is like if you're gonna say, oh, this game requires you to grind for things, is a grind to me means you just put a lot of work into the game. You put a lot of effort into it. Not the developers I'm talking about as a player. You put
like
a lot of
hours.
effort. Yeah, you put a lot of hours into.
There's nothing wrong with that.
As long as it's not just
mindless.
redoing the same thing over and over again. Which is, it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me why people, because people defend that, and I don't understand it. People defend like, oh, well, you gotta get on the grind, and it's like, I don't want to play the same mission for 3 hours when I could go play Spider-Man and play through the entire
campaign.
Play a new campaign, or go play Red Dead and have new experiences every time I play the game, or go play like Grand Theft Auto 5 and go have different experiences when I have actually GTA is not a good example. You have to grind a lot in that game.
Yeah, you do have to grind a fuck ton.
I mean, the story though was pretty.
Yeah, the story was really good. But what I'm talking about is just I don't understand what the purpose like.
It's a sense of satisfaction.
Yeah, people. Well, again, what you said about having a sense of like what you're saying is having a sense of satisfaction for doing the same things over and over again. I don't understand that.
Like for Call of Duty, for example, it's like it started in Black Ops 2 where you like work for camos and then you do all these different challenges for camos.
See, but to me that is different. That's
it's just the satisfaction. It's just the same basis.
But you're enjoying the
multiplayer
because
the
thing
that's the
about
same
that
for
too
other people too.
Is that
they could be enjoying the grind.
They could be enjoying the Path of Exile grind.
Yeah,
or something.
but. Like I said, I feel like every MMO that I've ever played is just like
they always follow the same format. They never try to mix it up.
Yeah.
The reason why it feels bad in MMOs is because it's simple auto attack gameplay and they don't try to make it smart.
Yeah, I hate that.
You know, the reason why I like to play games like how you doing, buddy? The reason why I like to play games like I don't know Baldur's Gate, which is kind of I don't know if you guys ever heard of Baldur's Gate, but it was like Obsidian or BioWare made Baldur's Gate a long time ago before they made like fucking KOTOR, before they made the Mass Effect, all that stuff. And it's a game where even though it's auto attack based, it's strategy based. So you command the characters and you give them specific orders, and that way every time something like presents itself like a combat scenario, it feels fresh because not every scenario is going to be the same because you need to think, especially playing on harder difficulties, how you're going to get past this scenario. Oh, I need to cast this buff just before I start auto attacking this guy. I need to slow him down so that he can kill this guy quick enough before he gets to him, or else he's going to die if he's 2v1ing somebody. You know what I'm trying to say?
But the other issue, and this isn't so much an issue on developers' part, but an issue on gaming community's part and the players essentially, is there are there are people who enjoy playing video games for the mindless.
Oh, of course.
There's people like
Call of Duty.
All the
COD is definitely like a better type of game for.
Well, yeah, Call of Duty is like, and I've said this before, is I don't play Call of Duty to play with my friends. I play Call of Duty when none of my friends are online, and I just want to do something by myself.
It's a game you can listen to music to. You know, one thing about games like like mindless games, like Call of Duty, is that I totally forgot what I was gonna say.
Fortnite.
Well, okay, yeah, I was trying to get into
I don't
Fortnite.
consider Fortnite a mindless game.
Because here's how Fortnite is mindless. The first 30 seconds, the first 2 minutes of Fortnite are mindless until you realize you have a chance at winning, and then it becomes extremely serious, and it becomes a stressful game when you lose.
You can say that for any battle royale game, though. It's
Yeah,
it's just completely mindless for the entire game.
That's why battle royale games frustrate me so much, is because you literally will like you'll put like, well, for Fortnite it's probably like 10 minutes, but for like games like PUBG or slower paced games,
30 minutes.
You can spend like 30 minutes in a match and then get nothing from it, which always frustrates me.
Mm.
I want to know
PUBG should
from
have been
all
free.
of you, because you've all played Fortnite, right?
Okay.
So what is the appeal of Fortnite? Like over.
I actually don't find it appealing.
No, it
at
isn't.
all.
I don't. Yeah.
Why is it so? Why is it where it is?
It's new. Like if you play
And the younger
Fortnite,
generation is really attached to it right now too.
Yeah.
They're getting
Yeah.
into it
It's
because they're
definitely-
being exposed to battle royales only.
Well, and that's another thing that's a problem with the
also
community
free.
and not so much the developers, because the thing is the developers, even if we take out the money grubbing pieces of shit that are involved right now and we just give the actual developers that are passionate about video games, they're still gonna try and cater to the fans, and they're still gonna cater to the market and what the market is.
That
looking for.
depends. That depends on, like, look at Battlefield 5. Who are they trying to cater to with Battlefield 5 by adding all this character customization options?
That's true. Yeah. Well, that was
themselves.
yeah.
They're
That
not,
was
they're not trying to cater to themselves. They're trying to cater to people that don't actually play games.
Exactly. That's what I was. Yeah. Battlefield 5 isn't. But regardless, if you look at Fortnite, there's a huge player base for Fortnite, even though it's considered by people like you and me and pretty much everyone here, that it's considered to be not a very good game.
Well, it's more than that. It's unoriginal. It's just it's nothing. There's nothing
The
to
thing
it.
is, Fortnite, because we played it when it first came out, waiting for PUBG to come out on console because none of us.
Yeah.
had PC. And
it was fun to pass the time on it.
yeah, and then when PUBG came out on console, that was the worst thing that ever happened.
Frame rates. You were at my
because-
house, I think, when we first started trying it. It was a literal fucking nightmare. And you got 15 frames a second. It looked like I was watching a slideshow.
Yeah, and it hasn't gotten any better. PUBG is still garbage.
It's literally what it was.
That was a good joke.
Yeah. It wasn't a joke. That's just me stating simple facts.
Clip that.
Even people on Xbox One X were having seizures playing that game.
Yeah, exactly. It's bad.
I don't mean literal seizures, but
Yeah, no, but
I mean,
like literally,
Maybe.
the game. For those of you who didn't play PUBG on console when it first came out, and I'm not sure if it's really that much better now because I stopped
It's
playing
not.
it a while ago. It's
at least it runs at a solid 25 frames per
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
Or 30.
You
And its graphics are still shite.
literally could not get into a close quarters fight.
Oh, yeah, so
because
laggy.
it literally what would happen is you would start shooting and then it would completely freeze. And then
You'd die.
you would wait for everyone to stop shooting, and you would either be dead or you'd be alive, and that's just how you fought people. And then if you try, what is your problem?
He's mad we're talking shit about PUBG.
But we won't talk about PUBG actually because it's not.
I just want to point out that PUBG, it's like that had
Potential.
consultation aside, but that game had
A big
passion
following.
behind it, and
Yeah,
it
that's
came out of
true,
H1Z1, right? Like,
Yeah.
Well,
It had
and that's
passion on
actually-
PC. When it
that's-
came
well,
to
yeah,
Xbox,
well, hang on,
they were
wait,
just trying to
wait.
make money.
Originally,
Yeah, exactly.
PUBG
But
was a
the-
mod for Arma,
Right.
created by Player Unknown. He was just some random fucking dude. And so when they actually offered him the fucking chance to make a full blown game, some Korean studio called Blue Balls or Blue Hole or something like that. Blue Hole. He was like, hell yeah! And that's when the project.
Yeah.
They were very
And that's
passionate
why
about
it's
the
so good on console. Or not on console.
PC.
PC.
It's still shit on PC, but like you can understand that at the start of the game, they were definitely trying to make an experience here that was
Right.
unique.
That was
well, yeah, I
And
think they.
Well, and part of the
accomplished
reason, and this goes back to games being rushed, part of the reason that it was shoved onto Xbox so fast is because PlayStation had all of these exclusives.
and
lined up.
Xbox wanted something quick.
Yeah, and so then they were
PUBG?
they contacted Bluehole and they were just like, put it on our console, and then they put it on their console, and the game literally did not work. Like literally, the first time I played it, I had to close the game and open it like 3 different times just to get past the first loading
Oh
screen.
my god.
And then when we actually got in, I specifically remember we actually got into a first match and we went into one of the, we landed in a secluded area and then we walked into one of the more, more
Bigger
bigger
areas.
cities areas. And we walked to the edge of it, and everyone's game crashed, and then we had to restart.
Yeah.
And for a battle royale game, that is completely detrimental because we just wasted 30 minutes for no reason. And it wasn't even a thing that like we played the game poorly. It was the game itself broke, and that's you can't have a battle royale game like that.
I remember when it would crash by itself for no reason whatsoever, but your
And
character would
your character
keep
would
moving.
still run.
Yeah,
And so we would essentially follow the character that was still running
and
try to get them, hey, you're okay for now. You can come back. You can still load back.
Yeah.
And then immediately as the guy's loading in, because there'd be a point in time where when you load back in, the guy would just be standing there. And so that's when he would be most vulnerable. And so we'd be like in prone near where that guy is standing still in the middle of the open. And he's like, all right, guys, I'm just about to load in. I can see the loading screen. And then he gets fucking sniped. And he's like, what happened? I'm down.
Yeah, exactly.
That was pretty dope.
But anyways, back to Fortnite. What were we talking about with Fortnite?
We were talking about how it's like
What made it unique?
why it's so appealing right now. Another thing I think that really makes Fortnite extremely appealing is that, or extremely appealing for like younger people, is that even though it's a games as a service thing, the reason why like the games as a service thing that works for Fortnite is they have the battle pass, right? And they have the free battle pass, and they have the battle pass where it costs like $10, $15, right?
Yeah.
And so you're still not paying for a full game. You're paying for the potential to unlock all the cosmetics for that battle pass. You know what I'm trying to say? But if you don't want to do that, you can also buy the battle pass using the in-game currency, which you have to buy.
That's how you have to buy the battle pass. You spend $10 in V-Bucks,
To
and
get
then you buy
to
the
convert
battle
them.
pass.
Yeah, it's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
But still, you know, at least you still also have the free battle pass, and you're still getting new things. My problem with the free battle pass is that it's all garbage. The thing is, at least they have the option, and you're still kind of unlocking things.
It only
with,
goes like a quarter of the way up though. Like the regular battle passes go up to 100, and then the last one I remember only went up to 25.
And the game itself is free.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Part
That's why it's okay to have a battle pass system like this, because you didn't pay anything in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
But the big problem with that now is that, and this is what
Now PUBG's fucking doing a battle pass, bro. I paid $39.99 for PUBG. Why do you have a battle pass? I should just be getting this shit for real.
That's the problem with EA and Anthem, is because like they were doing the microtransaction thing just like Fortnite, and if you go to the shop, it looks exactly like the Fortnite like shop layout scheme. You spend $60 on a game, and then you have to spend $10 for a whole new skin that looks
ridiculous.
Different than the original skins.
Yeah.
I also want to point out like how even though Anthem looks original, like it doesn't even really look original. When you look at like the armors, it kind of looks like Warframe. I don't know if you guys have
it's
for Warframe.
that's what struck me.
People were making jokes about how like the actual like people on the dev studio for Anthem were like talking about how their game looked like Warframe or some shit. I don't remember. Maybe I'm just misremembering things, but the point is, the game doesn't look that inspired. You know what I'm trying to say? It definitely seems like, even though the graphics look nice, by the way, it's a graphics downgrade though. It doesn't look anywhere near as good as it should have looked.
I mean, most E3 trailers are meant to look fantastic, and then the game's obviously
it's a
gonna get
marketing
downgraded.
stuff.
Yeah.
But Anthem was a different story because it looked like a
disgusting.
360 game at its best.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. The graphics, like a graphics downgrade from like The Witcher 3, when they showed gameplay for it, the game engine was still the same. The only difference was animations were a lot smoother in the E3 demo. But the actual product still looks really fucking good for The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
The difference is for like Anthem, they completely changed whole like mid-level formats. You know what I'm saying? It looks nowhere near as detailed
That's
as
the
they
thing
want it to be.
that's the problem with developers though, is that they're always like trying to like get their little thing in there, and then that's what fucked up its story, and that's why it was just so like everywhere. Like there were so much problems with just everything in it.
Oh, you're right. Like this option of how like Anthem, because Anthem's made by BioWare, and BioWare made Mass Effect, and they're like the games where you can make all these decisions and shit. Because people wanted that like absolute assurity that it was still going to be a BioWare game, BioWare did this half-ass system in Anthem where you make dialogue choices like you do in Mass Effect, but the difference is they literally don't matter at all.
They don't matter at all because it's still going to be linear.
Exactly. It's still a linear experience regardless of the dialogue choices. There was no point. If anything, they just wasted resources going half-assed with a BioWare like trademark dialogue choice thing. You know what I'm saying?
It's like my grandpappy always says, never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing.
Your grandpappy sounds like a nice guy.
Sounds like a very wise man.
Hey, you should put him in the game industry. Yeah, go ahead.
But, so, I want to look at how we got to this point.
Well,
what do you mean? How our conversation got to this point?
No. How
are you talking about like
how
the gaming
games
industry
changed.
and games being
how
getting worse?
Yeah. How have we gotten to the point?
I want to bring up something interesting. I don't know if this is going to be interesting to anybody else, but I think maybe us three were talking about it before. But it's and it's kind of sad, but we were saying like Fortnite is like the new Minecraft, like
For
for
newer
the
kids,
younger ages.
Yeah.
And it's like that is just really disappointing because Minecraft.
It promotes creativity.
I still like.
I mean,
Minecraft.
you can create stuff.
Minecraft is awesome.
You can still create stuff in Fortnite, but that's not the appeal of Fortnite. The appeal of Fortnite is just like the mindless, not the mindless.
They
the
have-
battle royale.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that it's like
People don't build to build in Fortnite. They build to win.
No,
Fortnite, its original
scenes
model
changed.
was the survival.
Yeah, you're
model.
right. That's
Oh,
right.
shit.
Then
Yeah.
they switched it over to the battle
In
royale.
2011,
Wait,
the trailer.
seriously?
Yes,
Yeah.
originally.
that is
Originally-
the
And you
worst
can still
thing
pay
ever
for
here.
you can still pay for the survival
But no,
mode of
that's-
it.
no one
Nobody
pays
plays
for it.
it.
'cause
Nobody
it
plays it,
was-
of course.
It
And-
fucking sucked.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why.
So Fortnite basically took.
The
Okay, let's
Minecraft.
rip this off, and then let's rip this other concept
I
off,
forgot
and then
about
let's
that.
make Fortnite.
We used to watch the
And
trailer.
Yeah,
the
the
trailer
It was a
actually
good
really
concept,
just
how
They
they
scrapped
executed
the
it was
entire
bad.
idea and restarted.
Originally,
Yeah,
the idea for
I guess
Fortnite was
you're
you collect resources during the day to build a fort at night to protect yourself from all the zombies. It was a zombie game and it was a Minecraft game. That's literally it was a knockoff of the time.
What I'm hearing now is that it should.
And then it became a battle royale because it knocked off
It
PUBG.
saved its own ass, basically.
Well, because it was gonna fail, and then they were like, "We need to do something."
They knew
So
it was
they
gonna
were like,
fail.
"Here's a battle royale mode that literally at the time was just bare bones." Just
Right, they're just
shooting
like
them.
maybe this will work.
Yeah,
like
and
that
it
kind
didn't.
of thing.
Not on for some reason.
And then
Yeah.
and then it blew up.
That's weird. There's so many games like that, like especially like the rip-off Minecraft like survival type games. They're just awful. They're just so bad.
Like,
And
Metal
I would
Gear
never
Survive.
play that if it was
Yeah, Metal
just
Gear
that.
Survive.
Oh.
I'm so fucking angry
Let's-
about that.
let's not get
the,
Sergio started
the
on
potential
this.
to make a great Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Survive.
Oh,
The potential
yeah.
to make an actual great fucking game with the Metal Gear name and set it in like a no building shit.
We all
no,
thought it was a joke.
I thought it was a
Yeah,
joke.
we all thought it was,
I thought
gonna
it
be
was
a
a joke.
joke game.
Wait,
April Fools.
Wait,
but
wait,
no,
wait,
it's
wait,
real.
you have to back up here.
Okay, so
Explain
Metal
something.
Gear Solid. This goes back to the PT conversation that I had with you. Remember the whole thing with Hideo Kojima? Hideo Kojima created Metal Gear Solid. It's one of the most beloved franchises of all time.
Right.
Some people say it's overrated. It really isn't because the gameplay, the stuff that it does for gameplay, was far ahead of its time.
Mhm.
He left Konami because there was like this big falling out between Konami and Hideo Kojima, and Metal Gear Solid stayed with Konami, even though Hideo Kojima created it.
Mhm.
So what does the first thing Konami do after all this shit happened? They make this uninspired garbage knockoff of all the zombie survival building house type games.
It wasn't.
And they just slapped.
The problem was
They
that
slapped Metal
they
Gear
did
on
it after all the zombie rage was done.
They did it late. is
They
what I'm
did it
trying to say.
like 5 years
Well,
late. Like
there's still zombie game. There's a World War Z game coming out. I don't know if you guys know.
Yeah,
that.
That's weird.
Yeah,
That's
there,
weird.
there's still like the
They're still
zombie
trying to keep
genre
alive.
has gone and died out. But there's
It died again.
did I?
people are still
I didn't
dick
hear it.
writing it to this
Yeah.
day.
So one thing about the whole zombies and building thing is that it's okay to do a zombie game that's in now if it's done originally, but they're always kind of trying to rip off something else.
Yeah.
The reason why Dying Light was successful because it's parkour zombies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
it was parkour with Dead Island
Yeah,
and mixed
that-
in.
Yeah, that's
Dying
right.
Light was actually pretty cool.
Dying Light was a fun game. It
Yeah.
was co-op too. It had its problems.
Didn't they make a second one?
They're
It's
working
coming
on
out.
it.
Oh,
And
it's
here's the
coming
thing.
out.
Here's the thing that's cool thing about Dying Light 2 that actually looks really cool is that they're trying to add more layers to it. That way, it's not just a parkour zombie game. They're actually trying to do this thing to where you make decisions and play it's
Yeah.
essentially semi Mass Effect, and the decisions you make will affect how the world's economy and different factions. It'll change the world around you
Okay.
depending on how you align yourself with the
But
different factions.
The thing that bothered me was that it's a zombie game. That's what it was built on.
Mhm.
And now the zombies only come out at nighttime. And it's
Yeah,
just,
that's one thing
that's what's bothering me.
They do want to
That
do
sounds a little
Interesting.
familiar to me. I mean,
so like Fortnite.
What the fuck?
sounds like a little bit.
But at least
like
it's different and at least it's original. That's why I'm willing to
Yeah.
overlook it for games where it's a different idea.
Excuse me, sir.
You know,
you're being
when it's
very
like Metal
loud.
Gear Survive, it's just what's keeping
Well,
me from
Metal Gear Survive is a perfect example of what we were just talking about.
slapping
where-
a name on things?
Well, not slapping a name on things, but Kojima leaving the company, and then all these money grubbing pieces of shit are well, let's make something that we can monetize and make money off of, which I'm sure they tried to do. I have no idea. 'cause
Oh, they
I played
did.
the
They
game
did.
for-
You literally one of the big controversies was you had to pay to unlock save slots. So the game came with 3 save slots.
Wow, that's a whole other level.
They were like $15. You can look it up. Look up how much did the fucking
Save slots.
save slots cost for Metal Gear
That's
Survive?
Welcome to video games in 2018, where you have to pay to be able to save your game.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have a whole new year like coming
It
right
was
now.
$10.
It was 10. Still,
That's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
You're paying $30 to unlock the other 3 save spots.
I would pay 50. No, I wouldn't pay anything.
To be fair, Metal Gear Survive.
50 cents. I mean, not even 50.
All these
cents.
articles say bullshit, this sucks, bullshit.
Yeah, for real.
Metal Gear
And when did they ever? Who was like, oh, people would like this. This is gonna sell to people.
Well,
Who's gonna fucking buy that?
It's a perfect example of the guy.
They're out of touch.
Yeah, the guy who made Metal Gear what Metal Gear was ended up leaving the company, and then all the money grubbing people who are there that are the people who probably put in all the shitty things in any game that he's ever made are the only people left. So what do? They make something that is purely there to make money.
Well, that is literally like I don't know anybody that would spend $10 for that.
But that's the thing. The reason why they do it is because there's always that small minority of people with a ton of excess money. The reason why games like Battlefield 5 continue to put money into those or microtransactions into their games is because it's always a small amount of players that are willing to pay for them.
The dedicated fan base.
It's not even the dedicated fan base.
People that just want to look good.
People that just want to look good in the game and they don't want to try as hard. You know what I'm saying? But it's also people with a lot of money. It's also people with a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of money, so why are they going to worry about it?
I feel like people at this point
they appeal to streamers
or they get to kids too. I think
that's true.
Yeah.
Kids buying loot boxes you hear all those stories in Europe and shit like that about how little kids would use their mother's credit cards to buy like 50 loot boxes. Then they would go into debt.
That's so crazy.
EA got sued by the state of Hawaii because their
loot boxes are banned in Europe too.
Oh,
Yeah, on Battlefront 2, they were considered predatory on children because these kids that didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
For sure, yeah.
And then they try to argue that it isn't gambling, but then every time you open a loot box, what's the first thing you see? Pretty colors. Pretty colors. But think about it real quick. Anytime you open a loot box in Overwatch, a rarity system, and what's the thing that pops out every single time? You open a loot box and what do you get?
It's literally exactly like a fucking slot machine.
Exactly.
Exactly
like it.
And that's another thing that Elder Scrolls Online had too. Exactly like a slot machine.
I didn't even realize. Really? Did Elder Scrolls Online have loot boxes?
Yeah,
are you fucking serious?
Yeah. Crates, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And everybody's trying to do it now.
Yeah, it's
luckily it's slowly dying off because like Europe is killing it. The Europe Committee on whatever.
Apex Legends just came out. You could buy either from the store directly or you can get crates. That's not dying. It's still going to be here for a little bit.
So how did we get to this point? As a community, as video games progressed, how do we get to the point where
FIFA?
It started with FIFA.
That's true.
You know what?
It's straight up FIFA.
It started with FIFA, and you know what?
Yay.
We started to see the beginnings of it in Activision's Call of Duty
CS:GO.
in Black Ops 2. Remember the skins that you can buy in Black Ops 2?
Yeah,
it started there.
but those weren't loot boxes though.
But I'm saying that they were skins. That was the beginning of microtransactions.
I don't think they were like pushing it like they were popular and everything. People were buying them, but it wasn't like...
because they didn't realize that the potential for them was huge.
Right.
I mean, I bought them.
There was like maybe 3 skins
We
you
all
could
bought
buy.
them before.
I played Black Ops 2 just to play it. I got to Prestige 2, and then afterwards I was like,
I used to be
right.
but
the
I
thing
can
is,
proudly say the only microtransaction thing that I've ever spent money on was the DLC for Spider-Man PS1. That's the only thing I've ever.
I think
that's not
different.
microtransaction though. I wouldn't consider that microtransaction.
Well, a lot of people would though. That's why anything that's post game launch is considered.
If it's a big add-on, it's called an add-on or a downloadable content.
So
that's microtransactions, like something small that's really obsolete and makes like no sense whatsoever.
Like you've never bought like a car in GTA or like a gun skin.
Because I never, from the time that it started to get popular, I never believed that I should have to spend money on a game.
You should be able to earn it.
Right. I agree.
So I've always, and most of the time, for a while that was true. There were microtransaction
Well,
options.
that's what I'm saying. Like in Black Ops 2, you don't have to do it to make your enjoyment of the game much better.
Yeah, you don't have to pay.
Yeah.
That's back when it was okay, but
right.
Now, what I mean by like how have we got?
If you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Yeah. Is like the saying.
We've slowly the microtransaction system has devolved into having to spend money to save your game.
Right.
That's fucking ridiculous. That it like a microtransaction should be something that you can unlock by playing the game, but it takes a while, or you can purchase it right now.
In some cases, they do that for some games, but the thing is, that's why they have loot boxes in the first place. Like Overwatch's system, if you want a skin, you cannot. Well, I guess you can buy it now, but sometimes they have systems to where like like the loot boxes in fucking in Apex Legends, right? That new battle royale game.
Yeah.
You literally, if you want a skin, you cannot get it unless you buy loot boxes.
You can buy it through the store sometimes. Like they give you offers through the store.
Yeah, they have the same like Fortnite layout for their store. So
But you can't buy it like directly. You need to buy like the gathering materials or whatever, right?
No. You can buy like the in-game currency. Your dollars gets converted to whatever the fuck their gold coins is in that game, and then you can buy the skins that way. But
I never saw that. Really, you can.
Yeah,
but still, you still have to essentially get in-game currency.
Yeah, because it just turns your regular dollars into the in-game currency.
Okay.
There's nothing special.
My problem is
you know what we were just saying how like you should be able to work towards it or buy it now. Like a good example of that is actually World of Tanks, which is maybe a weird example.
No, I played
World of
that
Tanks
game.
is a good game.
World
Right.
of Tanks is decent. I mean,
So
it's good, but it's not good.
But the point is that you
Most
can
games
either
nowadays.
spend money to get credit money in the game, or you can
Earn your
earn your stuff.
Yeah,
It takes a
which
long
is-
time
that's,
to.
That's a good way to do it, though. You
It
know,
takes a really fucking.
Though they
But
purposely
that goes back to grinding though. Is like if the grind is original and worth it, and it's
Right.
not just we're gonna make it seem like we have content by
Right.
forcing you to do the same
well,
thing. over and
I
over
think that World of Tanks is pretty straightforward, and it's enjoyable to the people that like to play that
Well,
type
like
of game.
I don't mind a grind in a video game if
Right.
you're like, oh, you have to get like 40 kills
Right.
in team deathmatch because like I'm gonna play team deathmatch anyways,
Yeah.
so I don't mind that.
Well, the grind in World of Tanks is you have to play and get
The reason why
next
they make
tank
it
and the
long-
next tank and the next tank and the next tank.
The reason why they do it like that though is because they want you to they want to pressure you into feeling like it's going to take a long time to get it, so that you can buy a loot box or buy the
Right?
currency.
Yeah, but it's still way more acceptable. Than
Yeah, right. It's more I hate it when all they have is loot boxes and you need to get the loot box in order to unlock
Yeah.
the item you want. And in other words,
If it affects
PUBG.
the
You
game.
know what?
PUBG does that. You know what I'm
Another
saying? You cannot get any of this. I guess maybe they changed it now, but remember when PUBG came out, all you could do was every time you got loot boxes, you
Had to buy a key
yeah,
for
you
it.
had to buy a key
Or-
for it or something. No.
No.
No, it was like if you wanted something specific, you could not get it, like actually get it, unless you like did it outside of the
Yeah,
game.
it's just a slot machine.
Yeah, it was a slot machine. That's literally what it is. You could not get it unless you bought a loot box, and then the loot box only guaranteed you like a 5% chance to get it. But I mean, it's one thing to monetize multiplayer games, right? But a big thing that's you can instantly recognize when make games by committee. You know, like when you have a bunch of fucking people that don't actually play games to decide what's good for that game. Did that just shut down again?
Yeah, it's the cards full.
Oh, okay.
Do you have to clean stuff up?
No, it's fine. That one's still working. It's fine.
Okay.
We just want to use that camera angle.
But I already forgot what I was talking about. Okay, so anyway, but when it comes to single player games, the way I see it, it's like it's one thing to monetize extremely in multiplayer
I
games,
can't find it.
but for single player games, like when you play like a game like Shadow of War and having loot boxes, or like Assassin's Creed Origins is like that Assassin's Creed game that came out like a year and a half ago.
Odyssey.
Odyssey or something like that.
Because I know Odyssey has hella microtransactions.
Yeah, Odyssey. Yeah.
And the one before that, Origins as well, the Egyptian one.
Right. Yeah.
Those had loot boxes in them, but it's a fucking single player game.
It started with Unity.
Oh, it started with Unity?
Yeah.
I never played
That's
Unity
what,
because
well, that's
that
why
game was...
one of the bigger things it was a problem, like because they were trying to open all these new weapons up for everyone, so
Yeah.
it wasn't just a regular sword and like great sword anymore, but you had to pay real money for everything else.
But in single player games, because the reason people buy things in multiplayer games, whether they're
So they can
COD
show
or-
off.
It's more
Yeah.
competitive and like.
Yeah, show off.
And then, well,
see
there's
it
also pay to win though in
Right.
certain games,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
where you.
But I would.
That's
I don't
more
see
like
the
phone
worth
games,
of,
though.
of buying something
Well,
for a
single player
single player
Battlefront.
game. That's.
I mean,
Well, yeah, that was the bigger problem with Battlefront 2, but
and
like
well, even like Uncharted 4, even though like Uncharted 4 is one of my favorite games ever, you can purchase better guns in Uncharted 4 rather than unlocking them.
Really?
Yeah, which
And that
it's
one Call of
fine
Duty game,
because
the one Call of Duty game where you had to open loot boxes just to get better weapons.
Oh, Advanced Warfare.
Advanced Warfare, yeah.
oh,
But
that was
the
no, that
World War
was
II one.
that was
World War II did that too.
Call of
Call of
Duty
Duty
4
War II.
remastered.
They both did that.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they had the,
More the reason
the
Call of
area
Duty's
where
in
you had like a hub and you could show off like
And World War
your
II.
World War
loot
II.
boxes, yeah.
And I think it's, as far as that goes, it's okay. Like, well, like using Uncharted as an example, it's like at no point do I genuinely think it's okay to be able to purchase better weapons.
Yeah.
But in Uncharted, the weapons don't differ enough to really make that much of a difference. Because the way that game works is it's so fast paced and it's so much more based on your ability to use the environment and move around in the environment than it is how well. Because Uncharted, you don't just turn a corner and then point and shoot, and whoever puts the most bullets in wins. It's like you fight, and then like if you start losing, you have time to get out of the way and get behind cover and stuff like that. So it's like the way that game works, how good your gun is
doesn't really matter.
It depends on skill, is what you're trying to say, and how mobile you
exactly.
are. But still, though, regardless, the argument there is like if you have two equally skilled players, the one with the better gun will win.
Yeah. But it's in a game like Uncharted, it's less likely because it's not like in Call of Duty. If you were able to purchase better guns than someone else, it's literally Call of Duty is just point and shoot. That's all that is. Uncharted has another level of mobility and cover system and jumping around, and like you can literally jump off the map and like
grapple and repel and grab people and punch people. You can melee fight people.
Yeah. So it depends on the game really, but at the end of the day, it's never okay to allow people to purchase better equipment than other people.
For single player games, it's just there is no argument for it whatsoever. We want to be able to. If you're going to play a single player game, I miss like the old days of RPGs. Like Skyrim used to have tons of DLC. Or actually, no, Skyrim had like 2 DLCs for it. 3 DLCs. Hearthstone.
It was Dawnguard,
Dragonborn, and Dogguard.
Yeah,
I'm sick as hell.
And basically, like 2 were stories, and then 1 was just you can build your own house.
Build your own house, but it still added a ton of new content.
Cool, yes, that's.
Yeah. And you could build your own house. That's cool.
I mean, that was cool.
That kind of sucked, but
yeah, it was cool. I liked what they were
cool concept.
That was the grind that I liked because I was like, I'm gonna build this bitchin' house.
Yeah, it was cool.
Mods for Skyrim kind of fixed that so that you can do whatever. You could essentially turn.
But console didn't have it. That was the problem though. So that's why when it came out for console, I was just like, fuck yes.
I was really excited too. Unfortunately, the people on PlayStation didn't get they got the short side of that mod stick, because I don't know if you guys know this, but when Skyrim came out. On Skyrim Remastered, I should say, the special edition. Mm-hmm. When that came out on Xbox One, you were able to download mods like normal,
like
right?
That.
But on the PlayStation version, the only mods that you were able to download were mods that reused assets that were already in the game. So if it was a new asset, you could not. That means any mod that made the game look sexier and added new textures to the game, you couldn't download it because Sony was worried about how it would fuck up your so they were worried about a bunch of shit. So essentially, if you were on PlayStation and you played Skyrim and you tried to download the mods, you wouldn't be able to get the too bad. All you would get was mods that made the characters bigger, and that's it. Shit like that.
So, with all this being said, where do you guys think that games are heading into the future? Because like it's no secret that like multiplayer games, whether they're battle royale, whether they're just first person shooters, whether they're whatever they are, those have been dominant through the last few like 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm. But we've been seeing it up like God of War and how hugely successful that was.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up is this last year the like top rated games it's been God of War, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Those are,
and before that it was games like Persona 5, Breath of the Wild, all single player games.
Yeah. So do you think that there's going to be a shift? I guess what I'm asking is, do you think there's going to be a shift in the community back towards single player games, or do you think it's going to be primarily?
I think multiplayer games will still be making a lot more money, but I definitely think that people are going to start seeing the appeal of single. I think, like I said, I mentioned this earlier. There's going to be a market correction at some point, and companies like how bad Anthem failed, right, and or how bad it's failing, and we won't know for sure how bad exactly it's failing until like the end of the next couple months.
Until May, because that's when the like newest thing is coming out. Everything else that until then is going to be a bunch of rehashing. Mm-hmm. So it's just like the only new content comes out in May, so people have to wait like 4 months until something new comes out.
Okay, so
I also want to mention with Anthem, part of the reason that it's failing is because EA also released Apex, which is significantly more popular. But also keep in mind, EA had nothing to do with how Apex was made or what is involved in it. It was the
I don't think EA had any faith in the success Apex had, because Apex just dropped out of nowhere.
Well, exactly. And the thing is, it's one of those games where the developers were genuinely interested in making a good game and genuinely passionate about it. And EA kind of just like
EA was like, all you gotta do, you can make another game, but make sure it's a battle royale.
Yeah,
because here's the thing: is that trends don't last. Mm-hmm. And like battle royale's not gonna last.
No, it's been lasting for a while now.
Yeah, but I mean, like
over time, of course.
Over time, the real things that will thrive are like Hideo Kojima and like all that.
It's gonna turn into it's gonna just turn into a game mode that's added into games,
Right.
Because like first person
hopefully.
shooters, we saw the explosion of first person shooters being super popular
recently,
and now there's a bunch of games that are first person shooters, but that's not really like
the focus.
Yeah, it's not like, oh my god, like I feel like I'm in the game because it's first person. Because I remember when first person shooters started coming out, and everyone was like, wow, how did nobody ever think of this? But you're right, it's not the focus anymore. It's just, it's the next Battlefield. Oh, it's the next Call of Duty. Oh, it's the next whatever. It's the next Destiny.
Right.
It's,
But
we're seeing
I guess what I'm saying is Fortnite is not going to be a thing.
yeah.
It's dying already.
Yeah.
It's dying because of Apex,
what
though.
I
It's
mean
its competition.
is Battle Royale is going to move to being from like, oh, this is a Battle Royale game to, oh, here's the next Call of Duty. It has a Battle Royale game mode. Oh, here's the next Battlefield.
Yeah,
Which is already happening.
That would be much more preferable.
Because there's Black Ops 4 has its attached Battle Royale game mode.
Battlefield 5's Battle Royale hasn't even come out yet.
It's going to be called Firestorm.
Well, because Battlefield
coming
5
out.
was like, we haven't finished this game yet, and also our lead developer quit. Let's just, here you go.
That's just so.
Instead of pushing it back and making sure it's done.
Exactly.
That's so
No, they rushed
disappointing
it.
for a
Cash
Battlefield game to do though. Like,
well, you know what? I've been seeing it coming. I don't want to see like I'm a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but like it's obvious that this is the direction the Battlefield franchise has been going in. It's obvious that this is the direction BioWare has been going in. You know,
that's so sad though because
It's because of EA.
yeah, it's because of EA.
Yeah.
And Destiny, Visceral Games, real quick. Visceral Games closed down. Here's the thing about Titanfall and Apex, right? Because I don't know if you guys know this, but the creators of Apex Legends are Respawn Entertainment, and originally they created Titanfall.
Yep.
And Titanfall games, they were essentially thrown under the bus by EA.
Yeah.
Titanfall 1 was released in between the releases of Call of Duty and Battlefield. All right,
And it stood out.
And it stood out, but the thing is, it's still released between Call of Duty and Battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to casual gamers, they're going to see the new Titanfall and say, "Oh, it looks cool," but what are they going to choose? They're going to choose the Call
They're
of
going to
Duty
choose
and Battlefield.
whatever they're comfortable with, yeah.
So EA they don't want to take the chance on a game, and also they essentially told them, don't put much fucking content into it because
we want to monetize
we're going to monetize it. You know what I'm saying? And so Titanfall ended up being a failure because it was a multiplayer. The first game essentially was like a multiplayer only game.
Yeah.
It was the campaign was the multiplayer.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting concept. But the thing is, it's poorly executed because there wasn't much content in the first Titanfall.
There wasn't like a
whatsoever.
story.
There wasn't a story. Then here's the thing though, you can see that Respawn wanted to fix that. They wanted to alleviate that. So in Titanfall 2, what'd they do? They made a great single player campaign and a multiplayer that was very fun. The thing is, again, the same problem with Titanfall 2 happened in Titanfall 1. It was in between a release of Call of Duty and Battlefield, and it didn't have much content. Why? Because EA wanted to be able to monetize it afterwards. Yeah. And so essentially, Titanfall 2 failed because of EA.
Well, that's what EA is known for, is they...
Killing
studios. They purchase studios, and they're like, make this game, but make it like a shitty EA game. Like, make this really, really good game franchise that you have, and make it like a shitty EA
Star
game.
Wars. They canceled like 2 Star Wars games just recently.
Respawn's making a Star Wars game, which I find impressive because they came out with Apex like out of nowhere when they're working on a game already.
Well, here's the reason why Apex came out so quickly though. It just uses the same engine from Titanfall 2, and because they mastered that engine already, why do you think this loading times in Apex are so quick? Because it's an engine that they have mastered. It's their version of the ID Tech engine. It's great. It's simple for them.
I just want to point out that the biggest disappointment in gaming history in my entire life was Battlefront.
Definitely.
When they
the
announced,
most hyped game.
Yeah, when they announced,
made me cry.
Yeah, when they announced, because dude, Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2, the originals, were my entire childhood.
Yeah,
every day. Anytime I turned on, I would go home and be like, "Oh boy, what game am I gonna play today?"
Star Wars Battlefront.
And then
You threw everything else away. Star Wars Battlefront, obviously. Why'd I even ask myself that question?
Exactly, and then also the footage of Battlefront 3 that got released of the original Battlefront 3 that was.
I was hyped for that too.
Yeah, that was by Pandemic.
That was closed by Lucasfilms though. Yeah. That wasn't closed by EA.
Well, Lucasfilms was already starting to falter. They canceled Star Wars 1313.
But the thing was with that is that, like, literally EA could have just taken Battlefront 3 and been like, okay, we're gonna copy everything that's done in this game and then do
AAA shit.
Yeah, and then they could have released that and everyone would have been blown away. But instead, they released what we today know as the first EA Battlefront, which was the biggest letdown, and literally, He's
okay.
I want to call for everyone watching this video to boycott EA from this point forward because I'm now reliving the disgust that I had when the first EA Battlefront.
Okay. I want to hear a pros and cons list of the very first Battlefront and EA Battlefront.
Okay.
I'll
get right into it.
We should go off Battlefront 2 though, because Battlefront 2 is the one that most people actually like.
I really enjoy Battlefront 1, but Battlefront 2, you're right. Battlefront 2 had a campaign that literally tied into like the movie franchise and shit, and it showed you stuff afterwards. The thing is,
it was from the perspective of the clones, which was really really cool.
Right. Yeah.
And it was before Clone Wars the show came out, so it was like the first time we ever really saw it.
No, I loved Battlefront 2.
But
I haven't played the new Battlefronts. So.
Oh no!
Honestly, you're fine. You don't need to do anything.
I just want to hear what like the difference is.
Okay, so Battlefront 2, you had a campaign, even though it wasn't like a super in-depth hardcore campaign. It was literally just like slideshows, but it was like a voiceover and it's very much like a monologue and describing all the shit, and you added it.
And then you just fought in battles.
Yeah,
it told that's all it was.
That's all it needed to be was you fighting in battles. You know, it didn't really need a hardcore story because that wasn't the point of the game. The point of the game was for you to feel like you are one of the many clone troopers that contributed to the victories and shit, or not even just clone troopers, but one of the many foot soldiers that contributed to the victories in the Star Wars universe. And there's an appeal in that, you know, especially if you just want to hop in and play a game.
Especially when you get to play through Order 66 as a clone trooper.
Oh yeah,
that was the wild. Because I didn't. The thing is,
to kill Jedis.
Yeah. The thing is, I didn't know that was included in that game when I first started playing it. Because I mean, to me, it was like, oh, this is a cool Star Wars game that, as to me, as like a fucking 10-year-old, I'm like, oh, this is a cool Star Wars, or probably younger than that actually. Probably 8 or 9.
8, yeah.
But I was like, oh, this is a cool Star Wars game that my brother has on his PS2.
Right,
I'm gonna just play through it. Oh, hey, what's the Rise of the Empire? And I'd watch the movies and everything, and then I'm like playing through, and I'm like, oh, this is cool, and then it starts getting closer to Order 66, and I'm like, do I get to play through Order 66?
Real quick. Little known fact, when I was young, I used to love Star Wars and I used to love the clones. They were like my main thing about Star Wars was like how cool the clones were and like the idea of all these people, right?
Me too.
When I first saw Episode 3 and how they turned, and I was like 7 or 8.
I love that.
No, I didn't. I love that movie, but as a kid, I saw that scene. I was like, the clones are gonna be so cool in this movie, and they just kill all the Jedi and become the bad guys.
I loved that scene. That was amazing.
I loved it afterwards. As a kid, I didn't because I started crying. I literally started crying when the clones went bad. I was like, the clones are going bad, and then I cried again when I played when you killed all the Jedi and shit. And
I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm sorry.
But it was cool though. When I go back and play it, it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I fucking
and
love
also
it
that is one of the most interesting parts of the Star Wars universe is Order 66 and everything. Everything around.
It was all retconned though with new Star Wars. I hate the new Star Wars.
Well, I really love the Episode 3 though. I really love.
Yeah, I like
Episode 3.
Good.
Well, okay, tell me about Battlefront 2, the new one then.
Ooh.
Just tell me.
So
Battlefront, first of all, it doesn't have a campaign.
It had no content whatsoever. Battlefront 1 had shit in it that was like, way advanced.
You had to put in 80 hours, this is Battlefront 2. You had to put in 80 hours to unlock Darth Vader. Which is ridiculous.
They put the price high.
Here's EA's concept.
Did you not just see me pull this out of my pants?
Here's what.
What the fuck is this doing in my pant leg?
He reached down his pants and he pulled out
a fucking paper. This is a toilet paper. This is tissue paper. How did this get in my pants? What were you saying?
Ooh, yikes.
No.
So here's
what were you doing before you got here?
I wasn't doing anything nasty. It's not even dirty. It's just.
Bruh. Okay. Just put it away. Just put it back in your pants.
It's fine.
Put it back.
All of them are talking to each other.
But it's not like peeking. It's not.
Okay, tell me about it.
So here's to put it in perspective for anyone who's not familiar enough with EA, even after getting to this point of the podcast. EA's decision for Battlefront 2, they looked at it and they said, who's the characters that people are going to want to play as? They're going to want to play as Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, the two most iconic characters in all of Star Wars. Let's put them behind a paywall so that people have to pay extra in order to play as them. And then EA turned around and said, "Yeah, you're gonna feel really accomplished.
You're gonna feel pride and accomplishment when you purchase them."
Right.
Wouldn't I feel pride? That they said this on Reddit. They said they quote the reason why we have such high paywalls for characters or something along those. You can look it up. Look it up real quick. What did EA say about the fucking?
There's a specific
how much
quote.
Did you pay?
It was like 40,000 credits, but that's if you did.
But like, how much is that in real?
Yeah.
Oh, you have to look it up.
Every match, it was like only a couple hundred.
You only got like 100 credits.
Regardless, you don't take Darth Vader and put him behind a paywall to play as that character.
Right.
You just that's just
in
that's,
the
you don't
original,
do that in Star Wars
it
games.
wasn't.
Or at least you should be able to earn him.
In the
through
original, there was not a single microtransaction.
Yeah,
You can play
well,
whatever you
obviously,
want, whatever you want.
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
no
that's
such
great.
thing really.
So you would have to play 40 hours in total.
I thought it
or
was
how
eight.
And
No, it
you
used
can't
to be-
spend any of that money that you earn.
How many
This is
USD?
in the past.
USD. Oh, fucking hell.
This in the past, you only earned 100 credits per game, 100 to 150 to 200 per game, because they after this whole like debacle and how people were
Yeah.
angry, they changed the earning rates, and then they added re-entered microtransaction stuff. So I think that this might have been. Look up real quick.
Wasn't
So-
there like a
this
cooldown
is-
on like your earning rates?
Yes,
This
there was
is
like a
that.
cooldown.
That's
This
They-
is
so
as of
crazy.
November 13, 2017. This is like literally right after the game came out.
Okay.
But
Look
you-
up
you're
what-
also saying that you could purchase the credits with money.
Real
Right?
No. Okay, so there were two. There was crafting materials, and then
The
there.
credits.
Oh, it was a loot crate.
Yeah,
You
that's
you
what
could
it
buy the
was.
loot
It
crates,
was
And then
so
there
you
was
could.
chance.
I guess you could earn credits in those crates, but so he's just
It's
saying
like
40
the-
hours
So
of
you
just
can't
playing.
actually buy credits with money.
No,
Okay, but you can
You
buy
can buy
loot
loot
crates.
crates.
And
you can buy the
hopefully
loot
get
crates.
Darth
That's
Vader
what the
maybe.
problem was. Is that that's why like they were saying, oh, this
Yeah.
is child
Right.
gambling.
And how much is it to buy loot crates?
How much?
Doesn't matter.
I don't even know.
It doesn't
You can look
matter.
it up.
It doesn't matter
It doesn't
just
matter
for one loot
anymore.
crate. You're going to
Well-
end up needing to buy 50
well,
No,
Well,
that's
loot
what I'm
crates.
saying is
Do you know
that
what
that's
the odds
they're-
were to get Darth Vader in the loot crate?
Well, they never
You
tell you
can't
that.
get the character itself. You have to purchase him with the credits that
Unless
you
you get
either
through the
earned
loot
from
crates.
playing the game itself or
Yeah, or the
getting
loot
lucky
crates.
in a
That
crate.
is ridiculous. I
Yeah,
would
but
just
like,
give
what
up
was
on
the
game.
actual like chance to get him through the loot crate?
Literally, they would only give you like 15 credits.
No, he's
And-
saying
Like,
the
You
chance to
can't
unlock
actually
him.
get the
actually
character
get-
though. He's saying. I think.
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't think
Okay.
you could unlock the characters
Through the
through the
loot
loot
You
crates.
couldn't
So you
unlock. That's what I'm
literally
saying.
only have to pay 40,000 credits.
You'd
to
have
get
to
that.
pay
That's
40,000 credits
ridiculous.
for that.
Not even getting a chance.
It's
to
not
get him.
worth
Which is funny
Not
because
even gonna let you have a
which is
chance.
funny because in loot boxes
Stupid.
which is funny because in the loot boxes you could get the guns that were like that you had to unlock later on. It's like the more you played a class, you could unlock the gun later on. But if you could
Vader and Luke were 60,000 credits.
60,000 makes it even worse. But they commented on this Reddit thing where people were complaining about how long you would have to grind to unlock it. It
Yeah.
wasn't like 40 hours. It was like 500 hours.
So wait, so how many
Yeah.
credits do you earn per match?
Okay,
Roughly.
anywhere from 35
I'm gonna
to
need
200
multiple
if you
points.
win. If you're the MVP, you could get upwards of
Okay,
200.
let's just
say
say
150.
150?
Yeah,
If you were MVP every match, you would get
150.
200, about 180 credits every match.
So
You were right about the whole how EA responded.
They said the pride
it
and
was a
accomplishment.
it was a sense of accomplishment.
okay, so you would
And that
have to
became the
spend
most disliked,
roughly
the most
400
downvoted vote, the most downvoted post in Reddit
Yeah.
history.
The downvotes minus upvotes.
Sergio, you would have to
There
spend
were-
roughly
wait.
400 hours
Playing the game.
playing
Negative.
the game
get
at
that-
like
that
150
many
credits per match.
Yes, people were upset
Yes.
about
to
that.
get to Darth Vader.
And they
You
tried
can't
to
spend
say,
any of them
and they
on
tried to
loot
say,
That
we're
is
trying to give you guys
ridiculous.
a sense of pride and accomplishment. But then immediately afterwards, they were like, no, you're not. You're literally just trying to get us to buy
Yeah.
the fucking loot boxes to unlock the character.
But then
What
the
would
loot
you
box
feel
wouldn't give you
pride
shit though,
in?
because they would only
Yeah.
give you like double digits.
That's
It
what they're
wouldn't
trying to
give
say.
you
It
triple
was
digits.
this,
That
it
was
was
the
this, it was this
So-
fucked up argument of.
Yeah.
So then who has Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker?
Oh, they
None
changed
of
it
you,
now.
right?
I didn't have it.
Well,
they changed it now.
They
though.
sent it, they made them all free after that whole debacle.
Oh.
Of course.
They gave them to everyone.
Yeah.
But then you have to buy like the newer characters.
But then they
for
put
credits,
loot-
but
then
they're considerably cheaper.
Mhm.
Okay, that's better.
They're like
So-
only a couple.
but, like,
$1,000.
I was
still
gonna say, who's gonna
unacceptable.
fucking do
Fucked up,
that?
still
Who's
that
gonna
they
play
even
400
thought about
hours
that.
to get Darth Vader? That's totally ridiculous.
So,
I mean, of
well,
course
that's
somebody
and
would
that,
do it.
and that's the problem with the way that games are made today. Is they're not looking at the games as like how can we make this enjoyable or how can we make this fun.
Right.
They're looking at it as how can we make the most money off of this.
How can we
Exactly
trick the
how it
player
is.
into wanting to buy? How can we best convince the player to want to buy a loot
That's
box?
what's wrong with AAA companies.
Oh, exactly. They're
Exactly.
really
And
they really want to fucking milk the consumer.
Really
It's about to. So I'm just
Okay.
gonna keep
That's why
And
you
I-
love indie companies.
I think that's why there's been this rise of indie games lately that have become more and more popular.
And a lot of them are kind of shitty,
Mhm.
but there's a lot that are like really good that stand out.
Yeah,
Super
exactly.
Valley.
Stardew Valley, good example of that.
And-
It's a good game.
Hollow Knight, Shovel Knight, another really good game.
I don't really.
So any game with night in it is basically good.
Yeah, yeah,
But
pretty
you
much.
know,
Like, you see night and you
But
don't
you
want to
also
fucking
have to
play
keep in
it.
mind
That's a night right there.
There's
If you see
people.
day in it, you don't want to get it.
There's, like, I'm not going to name this person specifically, but there was someone that I talked to, a friend of mine, that they literally, when Spider-Man was coming out, I was really excited for it because Spider-Man's my favorite superhero ever. I was talking to them about it, and they were talking with me about it as if they were like excited about it, and I was like, "Oh, cool! Are you planning on getting it on release?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "Oh, are you gonna get it?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "Why not?" And he was like, "Because it doesn't have a multiplayer."
Yeah, a lot of people.
What?
the fuck?
A lot of casual. That's fine.
Are you
That's
talking
fine.
about Spider-Man?
Yeah,
Spider-Man Battle Royale.
I'm sorry, what?
And he essentially what he told me was that he doesn't buy games that don't have a multiplayer because he claimed that there wasn't enough content or there wasn't anything.
Bro, that's a stupid argument.
Are you kidding me? Is this a joke? This is a joke.
Wait, no, I'm serious. But that there wasn't anything that could be added to create more content, which was the other thing. Which is why I was asking earlier.
There's literally the most ridiculous thing.
No, I know, but is it partially? You gotta think. Is this partially the community's fault as being okay with
of course,
like literally this friend of mine is either he enjoys these games as a service and microtransactions, or he literally is just so brainwashed that he thinks that that's the way games are supposed to be made.
Yeah,
and it's okay if you enjoy microtransactions and games as a service
and games that don't have single players, but like. It's fucking stupid to think that.
Yeah, and so my thing is like
Skyrim is one of the most replayable games of all time. It has more content than any multiplayer game.
Oh yeah.
Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas.
And I don't. If you're talking about Skyrim, I don't see how anybody would be like Skyrim doesn't have enough. It's single player. Why would I play that game? What are you talking about?
So okay, with that being said, and now also voiced the other side because we all pretty much agree with everything that we've talked about. Yeah. Voicing the other side of the argument of people that enjoy those types of games.
I understand where they're coming from.
Where do you think that the game industry is going to head from here? Why?
You see, I would give an argument from that side, but I don't see there any arguments on that side. I don't see like. It just has to be people being dumbed down by the game industry. Mm-hmm. Like they're just like, okay, this is.
Well, that's the thing, and like what we were talking about earlier. Like, there's like when I play video games, I very much like to think while I'm playing. That's what I like. Right. Video games first and foremost are, dude. You need to relax.
Yeah, come on, Maku.
Video games first and foremost are to me are to stimulate the brain. Mm-hmm. Which is funny because a lot of people, especially when video games first came out, were thinking that a lot of people still to this day think that video games are going to make you dumb. Mm-hmm. But they
improve critical thinking skills and motor skills.
Exactly. And so like PUBG, one of the reasons that I played PUBG for so long, even though I fucking hate it, one of the reasons I played PUBG for so long is because that game was so slow paced that you could think very tactically and and you really had to think about what you were going to do, when you were going to do it, why you were going to do it.
Puzzles in Uncharted.
And the puzzles in Uncharted. Even though
or any puzzle game,
Uncharted 4 had some pretty shite puzzles compared to Uncharted 3 and Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 1. I specifically remember Uncharted 3's puzzle where you had to shine the it gives you no indication of what you're supposed to do. It just puts you in a room with all these body parts on the end of sticks that are like metal body parts, and it turns out you have to shine the light at the body parts the right way so it makes a shadow on the wall that looks like human, and you have to figure that out completely on your own. And that's one of like, even though that puzzle frustrated me and took me forever to figure it out, that's one of the best examples of a good puzzle. But going back to PUBG, you actually had to like stop and think about what you're doing. It wasn't one of those. It wasn't a Call of Duty where you just run around and shoot.
Right. I mean, unless you're Shroud.
Yeah. I think the thing is that game, if you are good enough at the game, you can just run around and shoot.
Wait. Before we continue, when are we going to start this?
I want to talk about where the game industry is going to go, and then we'll stop.
Okay.
Well, then at that point, I guess we should just straight up talking about where each of us think it would be heading.
Okay. But let me just
finish your point. Yeah.
So for me, games have always been like a thing to stimulate my brain and think about what I'm going to do, why I'm going to do it, think tactically, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's why, like, you've played PUBG with me before. When I play PUBG, I very much am like, take things slow, like have one person directing the battles.
Probably why you haven't played with me a lot then.
Yeah, and deciding what we're going to do. Like if someone says they're going to fall back, you need to make sure that you know where they are, why they're falling back, what position
it's strategic
they're covering,
gameplay, which is
exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's why I like that game so much. And then also there was the randomness of it being a battle royale game, and like you might fight someone and then another group comes up behind
third parties you and kills you all.
Right, but it's it's more complex battle royale game.
Yeah, and that's why I like PUBG so much. But the problem is, on the flip side of that, I have friends.
On the flip side of that,
I have friends that literally hated playing that game with me for that reason, because they just wanted to run around and shoot, which was fine, because like those friends would end the game with like 15 kills, but we would get the number 8 spot, or we would get the number 10 spot. We would never win.
Right.
Whereas if you play tactically, you would end up getting second or first.
And you might end the game with like 3 to 4 kills, but you'll win. You know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Every time you kick that table, I'm losing my shit because my ears are exploding.
Oh yeah.
The microphone is right under it.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me that? Straight up, tell me that.
Well, you put your foot on there. I said that's
straight
too
up. Tell me that. Yeah?
Okay,
You said,
it's too fucking loud.
there we go. That's all
I
I
was
have to
mouthing
say.
it because they were talking. I didn't want to be like just put you on blast like
Straight
that.
up. No, it's okay.
Well,
I
I'm
love
Okay,
you on
well, you know
blast.
what, fucking Sergio, get the dude.
Hey,
honestly,
now that's rude.
Dude, we
all I
talked to you
want
about
him is telling me.
We talked to you
not
about this
put my-
before we
All right.
started, okay? If you're gonna keep up with
No,
this
we
shit,
fucking
you're
did
out, bro. No, you're
Where the
done.
fuck are you
You're
bringing
done.
this
You're
up?
not part of this channel anymore, Sergio. I'm fucking.
You're gonna be the one that ends up leaving.
Just kidding, buddy. I love you, buddy.
Sergio, just shave his hair off and then it'll be fine.
All right. So, with that being said, with everything that we've talked about, where do you guys think the game industry is heading from this point forward?
Cameron, if you would like, go ahead and start it off, and we'll go around.
I don't know when it's gonna change, but I personally think that multiplayer games and battle royale are gonna stick around for like a couple more years, and that single player games will be good and they will somewhat be respected because of how God of War and like Red Dead
We also have big games coming out like Cyberpunk and
Cyberpunk
Death
is gonna be a big.
But I don't think that that's gonna be enough to change people's minds about like them liking multiplayer or not.
Oh, of course not.
Because I personally think that multiplayer is still gonna reign supreme for like a little while.
It's because multiplayer really does appeal to the people that don't want to think.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of people now.
There's a lot of people in that.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just
right.
Yeah, because like you just want to casually play sometimes, and it's just like I can play for a little bit, and then I gotta go or do something else, and then
exactly.
so that's why.
I think that it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Oh yeah.
I think.
Where's the Fortnite?
The thing is, the thing is, I thought that we hit rock bottom at Battlefront 2, but they came out with Anthem next. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, EA is being put on blast now, which is kind of opening people's eyes.
Exactly.
But they're not being put on blast for Apex Legends. Apex is
because that was a good game, and certain people don't know that EA is publishing that game, regardless of them stepping in or not. That's still an EA game.
I didn't even know that was an EA game when I first downloaded it.
I saw
only found out
Respawn.
later.
It was just like, shit.
But I think that it's going to get worse before it gets better, and I think that what's going to happen next is studios, not just EA, but I mean obviously EA is the big one. Yeah. But studios like EA and then other studios
like
that are
Ubisoft,
following that same
Activision.
concept, they're going to start to see a really big decline in their market value, and
they're already starting to see it now.
No, I'm talking about like rock bottom decline, like damn near going bankrupt. I think that in the immediate future, we're going to see a huge surge of single player games that are going to come out and do really well and sell a lot of copies and make a lot of money. And then I think also what's probably going to happen is EA is probably going to start seeing that that's popular and then try to monetize those as well, monetize single player games as well, like with Assassin's Creed Odyssey and things like that. And then again, EA is going to hit its lowest point along with all the other developers and studios that are like that, and then they're going to come back up with good games, and then they're going to go back down again eventually and have another crash.
It's just like everything else.
Yeah, it's just
that's corporate. That's corporate America.
But I think corporate America. I think hopefully they will realize the mistakes that they're making, and they'll start thinking like we actually need to make good games that people want to buy and want to play, because eventually people are just going to stop buying from EA if they keep.
Well, it's already starting to get to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, Anthem.
Because after Battlefront 5 came out, I'm done with EA. I'm never gonna.
2?
Battlefield 2.
Battlefield 5.
Battlefield 5.
Okay, because you said Battlefront 5.
Sorry.
Same fucking difference.
It's all the same game.
After Battlefield 5 came out, that's when I kind of decided like I'm done with EA. Because the thing is, like, Battlefield 5 is a really good franchise, and I was like, like another Battlefield. Of course I'm gonna get it. It's good.
Yeah.
And then, but
that's the problem. Having that mentality is the problem.
I was really disappointed with Battlefield 1, and then when Battlefield 5 came out, I was really disappointed even though I had a little bit of fun with it, I was still really disappointed. I don't.
It should have been much better than what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm done with EA. I'm done purchasing things from them. If they come out with more free to play stuff, I'll download it. I'm not gonna buy anything in the games though, because I want to hurt them in the wallet.
And
all right,
I agree. You got to hit them where it hurts, and the wallet is where.
Because that's all. Like if you're gonna be a game studio that only cares about making money, I'm gonna stop giving you money. Because
you're giving me shitty products.
Yeah, if you're going to be a shitty game, let me rephrase that. If you're going to be a shitty game studio that only cares about money,
so much hair in my mouth.
I'm going to stop giving you money. That's where I'm at with EA right now. I'm sick of EA, and I'm sick of that style of making games.
And then Sergio's just sick in general.
Yeah, I'm sick in general.
like
I'm very sick. You know what else I'm sick of? Shitty games. I don't know. Anyway,
broken record question mark?
Yeah. Whatever. I see more of it. I'm kind of optimistic.
You say
opportunistic is what the game developer.
Yeah, EA is opportunistic.
EA is opportunistic. Like I said before, I said this already, but if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. That's why they've been able to get away with so much stuff for so long.
That's what your mama said last night.
Yeah, you need to shut the fuck up right now. Anyway, that was the dumbest thing. But anyway, my bad.
Usually I'm the one that says that shit. The fuck?
I wasn't expecting it from Milo. I was expecting it from Cameron.
I wasn't.
But
I'm
much more optimistic when it comes to that mindset. I'm personally of the mindset that I do hope that, like I said, I agree with Louis with the whole thing that eventually they'll hit rock bottom and they'll need to correct their own market essentially, or not correct their own market, but the market corrects itself. I want them to realize that time is important when it comes to making games. I'm not saying 6 years, because that's not, a game can take 6 years to develop and still come out trash. Just look at Anthem.
There was a lot of behind the scenes shit that was wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff.
We can talk about
but
that
Anthem is, again, probably one of those games where they did create a full game and a complete game.
It's not even really a full game,
it was before they chopped it up.
Yeah, and then they chop it up and they're like, okay, we're going to release this as DLC, we're going to release this as DLC, all this stuff that was in the game originally.
And people buy it.
Yeah.
Stop wasting your money and just wait for it to come out when it's done,
Mm-hmm.
What was I saying? Yeah, I'm very I was about to say it again. Optimistic when it comes to the future of games. I very much hope that they see the error in their ways. I don't think it's going to happen I think they're going to take an example from other companies like Apex.
I don't know if you guys can hear it, but our friend Jensen is losing
definitely
his
heard
shit.
that.
Yeah, Jensen's probably playing Apex. But anyway, fun game. But
after we shit all over.
I hope that the way I see it going is I think that they're going to realize that you can make single player games and multiplayer games so long as there is equal reason to play either way. Because you see one of the main things that plagued the era of gaming in from 2011 to 2014 was shoehorning multiplayer into games that didn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
We see this with Dead Space 3. We even saw it with Dead Space 2. You know what I'm saying?
Mass Effect
3.
Well, for a while it was believed that
multiplayer would keep the game living longer.
Yeah, and that games need multiplayer,
but they don't really.
Uncharted 2's multiplayer. Sorry, I keep bringing up Uncharted. That was my childhood game, though. But
Star Wars Battlefront was your.
God damn it, you beat me.
Star Wars Battlefront was my childhood game when I was
Uncharted
really
when you got a PlayStation.
Uncharted was the one that I really That's when I started getting.
When you became pubescent,
I guess. Yeah, and so. Uncharted 1 didn't have a multiplayer. Uncharted 2 had a very forced multiplayer. And then Uncharted 3 had a really good multiplayer. And Uncharted 4 has it's so
monetized.
Yeah, it's pretty monetized.
But anyway, that's what I'm trying to say is they came out during that era. A lot of those games came out during that era where multiplayers were kind of shoehorned in. Dead Space 2's multiplayer could have been really good, but it wasn't because it was just they didn't have time to work on it because most of their resources were going to campaign. You know what I'm saying? They were going for the single player. So I hope we see the day to where there's going to be single-player games that have multiplayers, but they're going to be equally worked on, and they're going to have two communities that are worked on for both sides. But unfortunately, that costs a lot of money and all this other shit. But I hope that eventually they kind of see the merit in something like that, in working on both in one game and trying to equally support both. You know what I'm saying? If not, then the best you can do is make experiences that are very complete for single-player. And making a product like God of War,
which isn't hard to do with a video game, because earlier video games are the best
form of medium for storytelling. Yeah. The thing about that is it's hard to do now because we see that a lot of publishers have hands in single player games too, and what they do is they end up like saying, "Oh, the story is too avant-garde. The story is too niche. The story is too. We don't think that having this character be this thing or that thing is too. I think that won't appeal. They try to appeal to as many people as possible, and that ends up killing the game essentially.
Yeah. Well, it's like putting a movie in front of a focus group.
Oh, that's what I'm trying to say. Well, that's why they refer to them as games made by committee, because it's a bunch of people that think, oh, well, maybe we should have this type of main character. Oh, but maybe the game should have this sort of problem in it. Maybe the whole thing with that main character having a brother isn't good. Maybe we should just take that out and just make the character like half dumb or something like that. You know what I'm saying? They really try to simplify it to appeal to as many people. That's all it is today. You know, trying to reach as many. It's trying to expand the audience as much as possible and sell as many copies as possible. And what you end up doing that way is you just end up making a shitty. You just make up You just make up creating a shitty project. What the fuck did I just say? Man, English is hard. English is hard tonight. But whatever. Back to my original point. I just think that they're going to either see that there's merit in supporting both multiplayer and single player in their games, and if not, then they need to make the best possible single player experience that they can. And the best the best multiplayer experience that they can, and just making it as like cohesive as possible. And what I mean by cohesive is true to itself, not trying to appeal to 30,000 different groups of people that play different types of games. You know what I'm trying to say? If you're going to make an RPG, you can have different aspects of that RPG, but make sure that it's all cohesive. If you have a cyberpunk RPG, don't make a cyberpunk RPG that involves fucking World War II or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't if you're gonna make a World War II game, don't make a fucking World War II game that involves elves and dwarves or some shit like that. I mean, you could do that; it'd be interesting. But you get what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I'm saying
if it makes sense for the story.
If it makes sense for the story, do what you have to do. But don't start adding shit to like.
To try and appeal to
as many people as possible. You know,
you gotta.
You need to be cohesive in the way you design the game and whatever.
Well, that's like just figure out
what you want to make.
Speaking to game studios, figure out what your target market is and make a game for that target market. And
if it's good, and you will make a good game, and if it's good enough, people will gravitate towards it because they'll be interested in it.
Definitely.
All right, Jordan.
Oh, okay. Well,
Jesus. Where do you think the market's
I agree a lot with like what Louis said. I think it is going to get worse first before it gets better, of course. And
however, I will say that I think even though it's going to get worse, I think a lot of indie studios are going to come.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's what I was going to say, too. Like, I think indie studios will, of course, create single-player games specifically for certain audiences, and a lot of people will enjoy it. Like Stardew Valley, of course. A lot of people gravitated towards it because it was, like,
a unique experience.
Harvest Moon. It took a lot of inspiration from older games that were single-player. I also think that
didn't they cite Terraria as an inspiration? I don't remember.
I don't remember all of them, but
was RimWorld and
so RimWorld
it was an indie game.
It has a bit of a niche community because that game is kind of targeted towards like.
It's based off of what's it called? The one with the dwarves, isn't it?
Dwarf Fortress.
Dwarf Fortress, yeah.
Oh yeah,
and that was very
I'm surprised you know about that shit.
It's an amazing game. And it's very complex, obviously, but
a lot of those city building games are.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was also going to say, like, I think companies will, of course, continue to stay out of touch with their communities as well. I see that a lot in companies nowadays. One particular one is, like, Valve. They wanted to follow a trend with card games. They created Artifact for their Dota 2, of course. And, of course, like, all the other card games were coming out, like Hearthstone.
As a trend.
The Witcher card game. Everybody wanted to jump on the card game train. But
Gwent.
if you look at, like, the Steam charts, you can see that, like, Team Fortress has way more player base than what Artifact does now. And it's kind of sad because Team Fortress has been out for, like, 10 plus years.
And they're trying to slowly kill that game, aren't they?
Yeah, they're not, like, nobody's working on it. And they're just not paying attention to what, like, their player base actually wants. And I feel like that will, of course, kill off a lot of communities as well.
So you're saying that you really want those publishers to ascend, or not publishers, but you want them to support the game for as long as they can.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay. I hope they really start doing that as well. I really like it when developers continue. Look at Rainbow Six Siege. Rainbow Six was a failure on launch, but it eventually became one of the most beloved games.
It has a good community.
It has a very solid community.
And they're trying to help it, but they're
not
doing it.
It spiked up in popularity because it was really good and it's a very unique experience. But again, Ubisoft, they suck, and it just kind of
balancing.
Well, I mean,
look
at
For Honor.
Even considering what we saw in the E3 demo for Rainbow, or not even the E3 demo, whatever that video was.
Rainbow Six Siege. or Patriots or whatever.
No, it was for Rainbow Six.
The original
the original
demo.
video.
It looked amazing compared to what it was.
Yeah,
now.
like you came in on a helicopter and like
the game's still good, but it's nothing like what they wanted it to be.
That's what I'm saying. Like E3, just it oversells to the point where
Of
it
course.
just needs to grab your eye, so it's all like on your mind, and then it'll just do whatever else.
Well, that's what. Pretty much at this point, you just have to look at what the studio's making it.
If it's Ubisoft, it's going to get downgraded. If it's
Yeah.
EA, it's going to get downgraded. If it's Activision, I don't know. They don't
If
really.
it-
review
but
stuff.
Activision's sideways, really. It's up and down.
At this point, like, it's getting to the point where you can't even look at games as like, oh, that Western game looks like something I'd be interested in. You have to look at it as like, okay, who is making that game?
Yeah.
Is it going to be good based on who's
Which
making the game? Oh, it's made by
sucks,
EA.
really.
Oh, well, that sucks. It's a Star Wars game, and Star Wars is one of my favorite franchises in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Too bad EA is making it because it's going to be garbage, and I'm not going to want to play it. Whereas, like, oh, what is this game about? An RPG about a bunny rabbit that this random indie studio is making? Oh, that could be good. That could be good because it's not by
People have more faith in an indie game than they do.
I mean, that's
AAA
why we
games.
should look at indie companies too, because they actually put in the effort to make their games because that's all they
Because
have.
they're passionate.
Yeah.
They're passionate
They're
about it.
actually passionate.
and
about the game they're
it's
making.
not a cash grab.
Yeah.
It's passion.
All right, so
Aside from mobile games.
All right.
Yeah, let's not talk
Mylan.
about that right now.
most of those are owned by big companies anyway.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shut this down, because we've been running a while.
Yeah.
Interesting conversation, guys.
Well,
Oh,
you gotta-
thanks, buddy.
You gotta talk
No.
about
I got
Just
you.
give me a second.
I just want to make it clear. I'm shutting this down. Okay.
You bunch of nerds is what
The
it is.
neighbors called the cops.
I just want to. I just want to reiterate 2 points that I learned from this conversation. Is one, there will never be a
Oh no.
better Halo than Halo Reach,
Oh, you need to be quiet. Right
and
now.
We didn't even.
We never even established what was the good Halo.
and two, we are kind of at the height of gaming right now. Like,
You can shut up.
no, listen.
I can't wait for VR.
God, you guys
Go
fucking
ahead.
listen to me. God, I have to hear
Go
all
ahead,
your
go ahead.
stupid garbage talk. Okay. Fortnite is the pinnacle of gaming.
right.
So
I can't believe I didn't see it till now.
I just,
It's like forcing me to want to like stop the recording right now.
I just,
Just cut all this out.
Yeah.
no, honestly, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have a specific opinion on this. Like, because obviously I'm not. I don't know a lot of the stuff you guys were talking about, but
Don't sell yourself.
just
short.
the way I've
You were
seen
talking
it,
about RimWorld and Dwarf
the
Fortress.
reason why
You know
I
a lot of
haven't.
stuff that I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you have
yeah,
different-
but I'm more interested in like you know
Niche.
like strategy games on the computer and stuff.
Mhm.
But the reason why I kind of just gave up on
Total War.
I think this like shows a lot or tells a lot is the reason why I gave up on
AAA.
first person shooters
Console
and
games
all
and
these console games I guess in general is because they're just getting boring
Mhm.
and
so more
that's
and more
where
people
it
want
went.
PCs.
And I wasn't wrong because I think for me 2013 2014 was the last time that they had really really good console games I think like that I really enjoyed. So yeah, I don't know if it will get worse or better, but I just wanted to say that.
We have hope.
Yeah.
We have hope that it'll get better. All right.
Right, but
Everyone cross your
anyways,
fingers in unison.
fuck.
Knock on wood.
Fuck.
Oh, that's not wood.
Fuck the industry. Fuck the gaming industry.
Don't
you
knock, do not.
I was
knock on
about
that
to, then I
fucking-
realized the whole complaint. You bitching and moaning about the.
we support indie games.
Do you want these headphones? Cause
I'll take them.
fuck your shit up.
I'll take them. It'll be okay.
And we all hope for the best.
Mhm. And EA is garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck EA.
We
Yeah,
can all
suck our
agree on
dicks.
that.
Fuck EA.
Yeah, he's bad. We're talking about that. All right, guys, that
All
was
right.
the podcast.
That
I
is
hope
it.
you enjoyed listening to us talk about the same shit for an hour and a half.
That was long.
That was
Yeah.
pretty long.
This is our first time doing it, so forgive us
Yeah.
for any dumb shit. We'll we'll continue to make videos and hopefully make you guys laugh and think about the state of the gaming industry. Also, hi Marky, how you doing, buddy?
Also, if you have any other subjects you'd like us to, because this is kind of like how all of our discussions go, where they're like
Right.
really in depth and we kind of like come
Yeah.
around full circle to a lot of things.
We're gonna be talking about a lot of different things, like other than gaming, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're kind of laymen. We're not extremely informed, but we try to be as informed as we can be. And we do our best in trying to talk.
I don't
about
know,
it and
guys.
give our
I think
opinions.
you guys are some of this.
Well, this is something we
I know.
like surrounded
Well,
ourselves
that's
with
not-
since we were kids, though. So that's why.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
When it comes to other
This
subjects,
is-
that's when we're gonna have to do some more research.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is all of our combined knowledge is the combined knowledge of us of playing video games from the time that we were a fetus to now.
And we only scratched the surface, or we barely scratched the surface.
Right.
There was still a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
There, we
There's a
can
lot to
honestly
do.
do like 20 parts on this and not even be
Yeah.
close to
Yeah,
being
yeah.
done.
Of course, the state of the gaming industry is something that changes every day, and it's been different.
We'll probably make another video eventually about update on the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Like
You'd have gaming news and try
Yeah.
and rival what's the machinima thing that just got revamped by Funhouse?
Inside
Gaming.
Inside Gaming.
We were just
We
talking
can
about
rival Inside Gaming.
Oh,
We're
I
gonna
wish.
change our format entirely.
Yeah.
But I think we can do it.
the real question is, do you think anyone's gonna watch this?
No,
Well, you never know.
those 2 people watching, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
I don't think
Stuck through
anyone's
the
gonna
entire
get
And for the
around
pe-
that.
the
you-
person
thank
that's
you
not
to-
watching, thank you as well.
Yeah, thank you to my mom and my girlfriend and my family for clicking on the video and then clicking away from it as soon as it started.
I hope you guys all have
If
a nice
you-
day/night.
If you got to this point in the video,
Get a life.
good morning, say it
Good
back.
life.
Good.
Good morning, say it back. Bro fist.
No, you can't say that legally.
Oh shit. Right. Don't sue me, please.
All
All right, good night, guys. Love you.
right, guys, I'm gonna go
Alright.
get torn a new one.
Are you gonna take a dump?
No, I'm gonna get buff.
Wait. Oh, wait.